So today we're talking about deliberate practice and whether or not it's appropriate in your training. Deliberate practice is a term that's been around for a long time, mostly popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in the book Outliers. That book, he suggested that for anyone to become sort of world class, anyone who wants to be the best in the world at what they do, it was going to take approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. And this came from a study by a guy, K. Anders Ericsson, who studied musicians. And the main thing that he was studying was what sets apart the sort of world-class, best musicians from the musicians that were really, really good, like the top end of the average or above average, but never quite made it to be the best. And the deliberate practice bit was the difference that he found, where both sets of musicians put in quite a large amount of hours of practice time. The difference between the elite ones and the closer to average ones was the elite performers didn't just practice for the reps. They didn't just go through the motions over and over. They specifically looked at their weak points, what wasn't going so well, and they worked on the stuff that wasn't working. So they looked at the things that were less enjoyable to them in order to make sure that they were better at them so that they could improve overall. And that's what really led to the huge gap in overall performance at the end. What has kind of ended up happening out of that, though, is a lot of people have taken the idea of deliberate practice and decided that that is the best way to learn things, and therefore it is the only way that you should learn things. And that's a bit of a problem because, first of all, that's not even what the study was suggesting. In the study, both groups of musicians ended up being really good, even though one of them was using more of this deliberate practice and the other one was using much less. Actually, your brain is designed to adapt to whatever you give it. If you do something over and over again, you're guaranteed that you're going to get better. This is something that I kind of noticed in my own training when I was training to become an acrobat. Around that time, books like Outliers and Bounce and Talent is Overrated all came out, and I took this idea of deliberate practice and decided, all right, I want to be better. I really need to start looking at all the weaknesses, all the weak points, and make a training program that fit around that. Now, what ended up happening was I went from acrobatics being the thing I love to do, and I just started gradually stripping away all the fun at it. The only stuff I practiced was the horrible bits, the bits that I didn't enjoy because I wasn't good at them. And by the end, it just really led to me burning out of wanting to train all the time. I woke up and training was a thing I went to because I had to, because it was going to be my job rather than something I really wanted to do. Which, looking back, I find really bizarre that I could see that and be okay with that. When I compare this to what I do now, as you can kind of see in the background, my hobby has now become speed cubing. I still do acrobatics, but not for any reason other than the fun of it. Whereas speed cubing, it's a hobby, but I also compete. I go to competitions, compete against other speed cubers. But I find I still engage in two different types of training. So with my regular 3x3 cube, when I practice, I just kind of try and go fast. I don't really have a specific regime of ways that I try and get better. And I think the reason for that is when I go to the competitions, I'm nowhere near the fastest guy there. Even if the amount of work it would take me to cut my time down to any position where it would actually matter, it just doesn't fill me with loads of motivation. And the enjoyment I get from doing it on my own, I get from doing it on my own anyway. I just don't feel motivated to really put in the effort to get faster. When I look at some of the other events, specifically the blindfolded events, this is something where, one, because of my nationality, there's not a whole lot of times up above my name when I look at the scoreboards, and two, I podium occasionally, and actually I'm not terrible at it. So my practice actually looks quite different. I find it really fun to try and pick it apart and find what's the weakest link, what's the bit that's going to get me that extra 5-10 seconds off my time, so that I can maybe improve at a much faster rate. And that's the key kind of takeaway I think to make here is, when you're looking at deliberate practice, the people who benefit most from it are the people who are enjoying doing it. So it's not something that you should force on your training to try and make yourself better. It's something that you should want to be doing anyway. At some point, you'll find just training the activity for the sake of the activity isn't the thing that's fun anymore. Suddenly, it's seeing the improvement is what becomes fun. So what I'd advise you to do is this: if you take whatever skill it is that you're training, and just write down, first of all, am I enjoying it? Secondly, what benefits would there be to me being really good at this? And then thirdly, how achievable is this? If you find that you could start practicing a little bit more deliberately and you're going to see huge improvements right away, you'll probably find this an enjoyable process. If not, it's probably a good idea to just keep playing with things, keep things fun. Over the long run, you're still going to improve anyway, and then maybe eventually it will lead to you wanting to start to progress in this area, or maybe it'll lead to a different interest that you start wanting to get better at there. But it's not something that you should try to force. So these are my thoughts anyway. I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment or ask a question. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.